I knew things were about to explode the second the courtroom lights dimmed and the projector clicked on. You could have heard a pin drop when the judge leaned forward and said, "Mr. Jensen, are you telling this court the HOA built an entire cul-de-sac on your land?" And honestly, watching the HOA president's face go from orange spray tan to printer paper white might have been the only time I've ever felt truly at peace during this whole nightmare. My name's Noah Jensen, and literally all I wanted was to build a damn barn on the 10 acres my grandfather left me. 10 acres just outside Cedar Hollow, a place that used to be farms and tractors before it got swallowed up by identical beige houses, craft coffee shops, and people who think wearing a reflective vest gives them government authority. I've lived out here my whole life. I fix tractors, weld metal sculptures for the local hippie artist crowd, and I make enough to live quietly. I mind my business, or at least I used to until Evergreen Meadows HOA came knocking. Well, marching, power walking, with purpose, like they were storming a castle. The morning it all began, I was standing on my porch with a cup of coffee, watching the construction crew set the first posts for my barn. The sun wasn't even high yet, and I could already feel it was going to be a good day. Or so I thought. Because then I heard the sound of someone stomping across my field like the ground paid them taxes. "Excuse me, sir." "Excuse me." I knew that tone. The kind of tone that says, "I've decided you're already wrong, and I haven't even taken a breath yet." I turned around and saw her Marley Yates, president of Evergreen Meadows HOA. Blonde bob, big sunglasses, color-coordinated vest, and a name badge clipped on like she was undercover federal law enforcement. She stopped right in front of the barn posts, squinting like the sight physically offended her. "You can't build that," she announced. I took a sip. "Morning to you too. That structure violates HOA guidelines." "Well, lucky me. I don't live in your HOA." She gave this condescending little laugh like she thought I was telling a cute joke and not stating a fact. "These lots are part of the Evergreen Meadows master-planned community." "No, they're not. County records say otherwise. Know your developer's brochure probably says otherwise. My family's had this land longer than your subdivision has had pavement." Her smile twitched. She pulled a folder from her oversized tote bag. This woman carried paperwork the way a gunslinger carries a revolver. Outbuildings must be approved by the Architectural Review Committee, painted in neutral tones and not visible from the street. I pointed at my fence line, rusty old unchanged since the 60s. "That fence is my property line, and your street is 100 yards that way." She left in a huff. I didn't think much of it. HOAs love feeling important. They love rules. They love clipboards. I figured she'd go home, yell at someone about mailbox heights, and forget about me. I was wrong. The next morning I got an email addressed to Dear Resident. They said I was violating CCNRs, demanded I cease construction immediately, and warned about fines and legal action. I replied once politely, "I am not and have never been a resident of Evergreen Meadows. Your HOA has no jurisdiction over my land. Do not trespass again." They did not take that well. Over the next week, I caught Marley taking pictures from every angle. Other residents would walk their dogs near my property line, staring like I was performing forbidden rituals instead of building a barn. A bright orange stop work order appeared zip-tied to my gate, signed by the HOA, which is about as legal as a toddler's crayon drawing. Then she escalated. She called the county, claiming I was building without permits. The inspector came out, checked my paperwork, nodded, said, "Looks good," and left. She called animal control, saying I had illegal livestock. The officer arrived, met my 2 elderly goats, laughed, checked the zoning, and left. She even tried to convince delivery drivers that my gravel road was private HOA access. I installed cameras, took notes, and tried to let it go. But Marley wanted more than to boss me around. She wanted my land, or to erase me from it. The day I received the certified letter, I knew this was no longer neighborhood drama. It said the HOA intended to sue me for encroachment onto their property, and demanded I remove the barn and surrender part of my land for community green space. They were suing me to give them my land. I actually laughed, out loud. Then I stopped laughing. Then I called a lawyer. Her name was Gina Park. Smart, calm, the kind of person who never raises her voice because she doesn't need to. She flipped through the HOA's documents, raised one eyebrow, and said, "This is either a huge misunderstanding or the dumbest power grab I've seen in years." I felt a weird mix of hope and dread. Because what if, just what if Marley was right? What if I misread my grandfather's old survey? What if the barn really was on the wrong side of something? I went home that night feeling hollow, doubting myself, sitting at the kitchen table staring at land records and wondering how the hell I got dragged into this. I almost called the construction crew to pause everything. I almost let fear win. But then I remembered something my grandfather used to say when things got tough. A man's land is his backbone. If you let someone take it from you, you'll never stand straight again. So I told Gina I wanted the full modern survey, whatever it took. 2 weeks later, I stood in my field watching a licensed surveyor walk around with GPS equipment placing neon flags like he was outlining a crime scene. He frowned more and more as he measured. "Something wrong?" I asked. He pointed at a flag. "According to county records, your land doesn't stop at that fence." My stomach flipped. "How far does it go?" He looked toward the HOA subdivision rows of perfect houses lined up like smug little teeth. "See that cul-de-sac?" "Yeah, half of it, plus those 3 backyards." I blinked. "Come again?" "Those 3 houses are built on your parcel." For the first time in this entire mess, I couldn't speak. I just stared at the little neon flags marching toward evergreen meadows like tiny soldiers declaring war. Turned out the developer's plat map was wrong. Very wrong. And the HOA had used that bad map for everything they believed was their land. When the court date finally arrived, Marley walked in dressed like she was defending the nation in front of Congress. Blazer, pearls, color-coded binders stacked like rainbow bricks of self-righteousness. Meanwhile, I showed up in clean jeans boots and a manila folder. The HOA attorney started the show with dramatic flair, talking about rogue, unapproved structures, threats to community harmony, architectural disruption, and my personal favorite agricultural eyesore. Marley sniffled and dabbed her eyes like she was the victim in all this. Then Gina stood calm as a lake. "Your Honor, the issue is simple. The barn is not on HOA land. In fact," she turned on the projector. The lights dimmed. The room shifted. Gasps rippled across the gallery. On the screen was the county-certified survey, the one showing parcel lines dating back decades, and overlaid on top evergreen meadows. 3 lots, a playground, part of a walking path, all highlighted in bright, humiliating red. The judge leaned in. "Explain this, Ms. Park." "Gladly," Gina said. "The developer's plat extended their lots too far. The county never approved that change. Those homes sit on land legally owned by my client, Mr. Jensen." Then the judge turned to Marley. "Did your HOA ever verify boundaries with an independent survey?" Marley opened and closed her mouth like a fish dropped onto a dock. "We trusted the developer." Not the right answer. 2 weeks later, the ruling came down, and it was devastating for them. The judge dismissed their lawsuit with prejudice, ordered the HOA to pay my legal fees and survey costs, declared the barn fully legal, and then delivered the hammer blow. As for the encroaching structures, the HOA must negotiate purchase of the land from Mr. Jensen or remove the encroaching portions of the homes and common areas. Someone in the back whispered, "Our houses." Then the judge added, "Given the HOA's conduct, trespassing, harassment, and attempted coercion, the HOA is barred from contacting Mr. Jensen directly." Marley stared ahead like her soul had exited her body. Word spread fast. Local news picked it up. Headlines poured in. HOA sues man over barn. Learns their neighborhood sits on his land. Evergreen Meadows went from premier lifestyle community to that HOA that built on the wrong land. Real estate agents panicked. Potential buyers started backing out. And suddenly, the HOA needed me. The first offer they gave me was laughably small. Insulting, honestly. I gave them my counteroffer, a number so high their treasurer choked. Negotiations dragged on for months. Homeowners were furious, but not at me. They wanted answers from the HOA and the developer who'd sold them homes built on the wrong land. In the end, 3 homeowners bought perpetual easements for the portions of their houses sitting on my property. The HOA bought a smaller easement for the playground and pathway, and the developer, dragged into the mess under threat of another lawsuit, paid a massive settlement to cover it all. But I insisted on one final clause written in clear, bold language. Evergreen Meadows HOA acknowledges it has no authority, jurisdiction, or claim over the property of Mr. Noah Jensen now or in the future. Marley signed last. By then, she was no longer HOA president. Homeowners held a special meeting after the court ruling. They voted 39-1 to remove her, ban her from future board positions, and require independent surveys for all future disputes. I heard she just stood there clutching her binder while everyone turned away. And that's where my story ends. Not with champagne or a victory parade, but with a woman walking out of a community center, a loan badge still pinned to her blazer, stripped of the power she wielded like a weapon. If there's one thing I learned from all this, it's simple. People who abuse power always underestimate the quiet guy who just wants to be left alone.